In this video, basically what I want to do is I want to give a brief introduction to philosophy. Most of the videos I do here on YouTube that are philosophy related, not the beer ones, but the philosophy ones, all of those are mostly directed toward those who already have a good understanding of at least a good chunk of philosophy. Oh wait, I need to write something. 13. I forgot this category. Okay. Most of them are directed towards people who already have a good understanding of some part of philosophy, and they're looking to broaden their intelligence or knowledge into another branch or another kind of philosophy or another philosopher. This video is different from that in that it's an introduction to philosophy. This is directed towards those who don't know what philosophy is. Like, you know, I tell people ask me what my major is, and I tell them I'm majoring in philosophy, and they're like, well, what's philosophy? And on the spot, it's not very easy to tell them because they don't know what it is. It's hard for me to explain. So in this video, I'm going to do my best to explain what philosophy is and go over the branches of philosophy itself, as well as talk about how it came about and overall what it is. First of all, philosophy and science. To understand philosophy, it's best to think about science. Philosophy preceded science. Back, in ancient times, we didn't have a scientific method or a way of testing things for, or testing, to figure out scientific knowledge or what. We had speculation. And that's basically talking about the world and the world, who we are, how we think, and how we should act. We talk about those things and try and speculate and think about the way things are in the world. Philosophy is about who we are as people, how our mind works, how we should act, and lots of other various different things, like what a good government is, or what beauty is, or what a number is, or who God is. It's speculating about all these things. Now, philosophy, as time passed by, we gained more scientific knowledge and ways to test for science, to scientifically test for truth in science. And then different scientific branches broke off from philosophy. So from philosophy we got physics, and plus chemistry, and constantly branches of science kept breaking off of philosophy as time passed. And just recently, what broke off of philosophy is neuroscience. Kind of related to neurophilosophy. But like neurosciences in psychology, that they go from being just speculated about in philosophy and thought about and talked about in philosophy to being actually having a scientific method, a way to test for truth in certain things. Just thinking about physics and chemistry and neuroscience and psychology and sociology and all the kinds of science, those had a root in philosophy, because we were first talking about those things speculatively before we could test for truth in those things. So the main three, now mostly I'm talking about the analytic kind of philosophy. There's a little bit of continental, which I'm going to discuss here, but to understand what analytic philosophy is and what continental philosophy is, I have a video just for that I made today. So mostly, the three main branches you should know about in philosophy. These other ones are less important to understand all of philosophy. We first have metaphysics. Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy which is about existence, the world, what the world is made of, how the world exists, and what entities we commit to. Like, for instance, a universal, or a form, or a trope. These are just kind of ontological things that we commit to in our philosophy. Metaphysics, people bash this a lot because we can't, verify whether a trope exists or what. We talk about, entities like properties and particulars and stuff like that, and talk about causation in this whole thing. We talk about the way the world is, what it's made of, and how it is. What is the world, and how is it that way? Next we have epistemology, which is about our beliefs, the belief systems that we hold, and how we get justification and how we get knowledge. This is about how we justify our beliefs and what combination makes knowledge, or through how can we gain knowledge. So epistemology is how we think and how we come to have knowledge and how we come to know things. And these two things are very, very closely related. Thirdly, ethics. This is about how we should act. How should we act in our lives towards people? And we have three divisions within ethics. We have normative ethics, which is basically theories, which is like formulas and theories as to how we should act. Formulas that prescribe us ways to act given any circumstance. Metaethics, which has to do with epistemology, philosophy of language, and metaphysics, and that talks about what morality is. Is it absolute? Is it natural? And talking about the existence of morality. Thirdly, applied ethics is about we talk about like things like abortion and euthanasia and just war and stuff like that, and as to how we can act rightly given those specific situations. So these are the main three. I have various videos on these three things in various playlists that I have here on my channel, and if you can understand these three, then you are off to a very good start. And if you have a question about something, please comment. I'd love to discuss with you. Now this one, which I forgot to write until just when I started this, is very related to metaphysics, because metaphysics deals a lot with what the mind is. Philosophy of mind is the body of one substance, monism, or is it of two substances, dualism? And this also relates to neurophilosophy and neuroscience, and talking about how the mind is, how it works, talking about consciousness, how this relates to free will, and this also relates to epistemology a bit. So we have that, and this also is if you want to understand, if you can understand a bit about these four, then you are really off to a good start. Next, we have the philosophy of science, which, like I said, is very closely related to epistemology. It's really not very easy. I mean, epistemology is not very easy either, but reading works of distinct philosophy of science, as in this anthology, it's not that easy. So I wouldn't put it upon you to have to know about this upon first learning philosophy. But since it is a branch of philosophy, I want to talk about it. It has to do with science, how we gain scientific knowledge, and how we gain knowledge in general, how we can test for things, and how we can grow our knowledge about the world around us. So, if you're trying to gain a very minimal understanding of philosophy, I wouldn't worry too much about this, and worry more about this, even though they're very closely related and very almost the same. Worry mostly about that. Philosophy of mathematics is another much more difficult one, about as difficult as this one. philosophy of mathematics is something that I wouldn't recommend worrying about until you have a really good understanding. But it is a branch of philosophy, so I want to talk about it. This relates to epistemology, metaphysics, and philosophy of language. Philosophy of mathematics is about what a number is. Are numbers ontologically real? Are they objective and absolute? And how it relates to logic, because so there are theories about how logic is mathematics and various very difficult theories. Next, I put continental philosophy to contrast with most of what else I've been talking about, because this is very different from what else I've been talking about, because it's better to understand analytic philosophy before going into continental. So this is just a theories of 19th and 20th century philosophy that are a little more vague and hard to understand and open to interpretation. People like Hegel and Schopenhauer and Husserl and Heidegger and Derrida and those guys. I have videos on that stuff, but it's a little harder to understand. But I would read Kant before reading any of that. Okay, I'm gonna come to this later after we talk about these three. Political or social philosophy is about. It's very related to ethics. It's about what is the best form of government, and how do we execute that. Social philosophy is about it's related to sociology, and it's about having a healthy society, and a lot about it's a lot about society and stuff like that. So we have like Karl Marx, Max Weber, Emil Durkheim, people like that. And political philosophy, we have people like Plato. Political philosophy goes all through the history of philosophy. Aesthetics is about philosophy of art. And what beauty is, what constitutes a beautiful object. Now, this is one I wouldn't worry about. It's kind of a less important, but it is a branch of philosophy which should be thought about. It's about what is beauty, what is art, what constitutes a beautiful object, and stuff about beauty and art. Philosophy of religion is very important because it relates to metaphysics, epistemology, and philosophy of language as well, and also philosophy of science a little tiny bit. Philosophy of religion is about who is God, what are his properties. People see philosophy of religion and they think, what kind of religions will you be studying? And the answer is none. Religion is a different thing from philosophy of religion. Philosophy of religion is about God's properties, who God is, how do we prove that he exists or prove that he doesn't exist. Religious epistemology, talking about the beliefs of God within epistemology. It's all about figuring out what God is and how he relates to the world and us. That's pretty much. Oh, I forgot philosophy of language. Philosophy of language is a more also kind of a difficult one, just like these two. But it also very much relates to epistemology and metaphysics and philosophy of science and philosophy of mathematics. Philosophy of language is what meaning is, what constitutes the meaning of words, and variations of that. Now that's something haven't gone too far deep into. I've been this, and that. But I haven't really gotten into this, or this too much. Well, this I have. Anyway, that's my brief 15-minute intro to philosophy. It's about talking about the way the world is and the way things are, and these all talk about different things. You know, it's like different topics, different subject matters. If you have any questions, I highly recommend that you comment below. I'd love to discuss with you. I pretty much respond to every comment unless the comment is not constructive. Also, if you think I've messed something up or left something out, also comment below. I have many videos on this channel, and if you want to know about a certain branch of these, I have videos on this one, not this one really, a little bit on this one, not